On today's episode, why the Nippon Steel US Steel buyout is critical for US manufacturing. Today's episode is brought to you by Engineering.com, a globally trusted source for engineering content. Check out this and many other exclusive videos for the engineering professional found only on Engineering.com TV today. If you're looking for a metaphor for globalization, you couldn't do better than the proposed acquisition of US Steel by Nippon Steel. US Steel, founded in 1901 by J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, and Charles Schwab, was the poster child for American economic and manufacturing prowess for a century, and it was instrumental in the defeat of Japan in World War II, the core of what FDR called the arsenal of democracy. Now, the deal negotiated between the firms would have sold control of US Steel to the Japanese giant for $15 billion and would have included considerable reinvestment in aging US Steel facilities, including state-of-the-art Nippon Steel technology. Now, I say could have because in one of the closing acts of the Biden administration, the deal has been blocked, and in one of the rare policy moves that coincide exactly with those of the incoming Trump administration. The stated rationale is national security. Security is a reason, but it's not the only one. Both steel companies have filed lawsuits against the administration for blocking the acquisition and have named United Steelworkers and Ohio-based Cleveland-Cliffs as conspirators in a scheme to scupper the deal. While this is about politics and economics, what isn't widely understood is that the core of this gigantic deal is about engineering. In the 20th century, everything was about steel. Nations that made it saw a future of prosperity and modernity. Every developing nation wanted an indigenous steelmaking capability, and China, as far back as Mao's Great Leap Forward, was obsessed by it. Today, nations like China and India are massive producers of commodity steels, which now trade at prices which make US Steel's older operations unprofitable. But the key aspect to remember is that there are two fundamental kinds of steelmaking. Primary steelmaking, the smelting of iron ore and its subsequent refinement into carbon steel, and secondary steelmaking, generally done with smaller, highly efficient carbon arc furnaces using scrap steel as the raw material. The latter produces more expensive, higher-margin specialty steels, while the former, the traditional Hollywood image of flame-spewing blast furnaces, well, that produces low-technology, lower-margin commodity steels used for civil engineering, typically as structural steel profiles. US Steel was squeezed at both ends, with cheap imported commodity steels and small, efficient, specialty secondary producers taking the high end of the market. But here's the critical point. Unless there are primary steelmakers making pig iron out of iron ore, limestone, and coke, there won't be a feedstock for the secondary producers to make the value-added products. So one way or another, America must have a source of primary commodity steel, both for civil engineering uses and ultimately as raw materials for specialty steel production. So the maintenance of an indigenous capability is indeed a matter of national security. The Nippon Steel buyout, however, included an agreement that the Japanese firm would modernize those old operations and transfer Nippon's advanced technology, rejuvenating US Steel production and returning it to profitability. Without a significant injection of both capital and technology, US Steel will not survive unless they're protected by high tariffs against imported commodity steels. The price, of course, is higher steel prices across the civil engineering and manufacturing sectors, and ultimately higher prices for American consumers. Killing the deal and imposing tariffs would be a form of backdoor subsidy, disincentivizing the move to modern, higher efficiency production. Caught in the middle, of course, is the United Steelworkers. Almost all modernization includes higher levels of automation, which suggests a smaller workforce. On the other hand, the collapse of US Steel would result in layoffs as well. So they're in a tough spot. A perfect solution would have massive American investments in new technology to rejuvenate US Steel and make it competitive with imported product for basic commodity grades, feeding American manufacturing and construction demand, while ensuring the long-term supply of scrap for the specialty steelmakers. One thing US Steel can't do is nothing. Whether it's through investment from Nippon Steel, Cleveland-Cliffs, or some other investor that can bring technology to the table, major changes are coming. If protectionist measures are used to delay that technical modernization, US Steel will be at a greater risk of failure later. Well, that's it for today's episode of End of the Line, brought to you by Engineering.com. For our deeper engineering series, visit Engineering.com TV for exclusive shows like Manufacturing the Future, Designing the Future, and the Engineering Roundtable, not found on our YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. Thanks for watching.